The only reason you'd worry about going to potentially phrase or broad is that your exact isn't working. Then I would say, well, don't blame the match type, blame your keyword selection, or blame your website or your ad copy or your offer on your website.
What is the play to make if search terms do go away? How do people adapt and live with search themes?
So we're gonna have to assume it's a world where they kind of work. Otherwise, we're all screwed. And even Google's screwed. First-party data has been significant for ages. I think we're now to the point where it's non-optional. And if I was smart, I wouldn't have built Ad Evolver. I would have built a tracking tool. In fact, this is frustrating because we actually set a cookie-based tracking tool up for a client that works beautifully. It's really simple. I don't know why I don't sell it. Maybe that's because I haven't got enough fucking time. But it's really straightforward, and everyone needs to be not just doing Google Ads, but working out how they can capture better data. That might be cheating, i.e. using a third-party product, or it might be doing some development yourself. Server-side tracking, form capture, hidden form fields. Yeah, there are options out there from simple to complicated. We need to be better at first-party data, and for service-based businesses in particular, that's so you can track the quality of the lead, and then you can use that data on the back end, and I've said this before, to orient your budget. So I can see a time in the future, and it might not be that far away, where we don't actually use the Google Ads data. We use the spend data, we use impression data, we use auction data, but we don't use post-click metrics in Google Ads. We look at conversions, cost conversions, and we ignore them because they aren't reality. But the auction data is. That's Google's first party. Instead, we're looking on our back end saying, okay, well, we know that keyword drives all these leads. We know looking at Google Ads, it spent this amount of money. What's the quality of those leads? Do they convert? Is our roofer booking these appointments? Are we big enough as a business to have enough data to see if there's a pattern in the sales trends? Now, there often isn't because you're not big enough. But it can go multiple. If you're national, you'll get that data. If you're local, probably not. And this is where it gets a little bit complicated because people are like, oh, you should be doing value-based bidding. It's like, yeah, and you should have a lot more data, but life's a bitch. So you can't do value-based bidding if you don't have the data. It's like, oh, I got 3 sales last month. It's like, okay, well, maybe after a year you could. No. So, but you can do value-based bidding against the quality of the lead, which is one step beyond just going, I got a phone call or a form fill. But essentially, it's capturing all that data, understanding it outside of Google. It's your data, and you're analysing that. And then I hope at some point the AI is good enough to bring this together. In Godtier Alpha, we had what converts. Godtier Alpha, by the way, is a lead gen community for local service-based businesses. Just Google it. So local service-based advertisers. God, my sales pitches are shit. Anyway, we had what converts come in, and they're that kind of product, and they showed us how theirs works. And it does that job for you, but obviously you have to pay for it. And there are loads of different versions for e-commerce.
That is exactly the strategy that I used when I was leading marketing at Optimizer. I would only look at how much was spent and what the cost per acquisition was in Google Ads, and nothing else. And then I would go into HubSpot where everything else was populated, and I would segment off all of the leads that had taken a certain action and had some interaction with Google Ads. So either they clicked on an ad at some point, or their first or last source was paid search. It was easier than trying to bang my head against the Google Ads interface and pray and hope that I would see the information that I wanted. And I could actually see not just how the leads behave, but I could see how they were interacting with the sales team. Yep. I could see what pages on the website they were looking at. It went far beyond PPC, but now they were interacting with the brand and the company and the business. What was that like? Did we have a good lead or a good group of leads, but we lost them because our content was shit or the sales rep said something that they shouldn't have? Fortunately, that wasn't the case, but if it had been, I would have been able to see it. And if you don't have that tool, what converts, HubSpot, whatever it is, that amplifies all of this data from Google Ads and goes beyond clickety click, you're going to struggle.
Yeah, you are peeing up the wall. It also keeps, like you just said, it keeps the business accountable, and it doesn't matter if the business is a one person, not allowed to say one man, person band, one man band, one woman band, whatever. But it still keeps them accountable because they're not updating the information on the leads. So you're sat there as an advertiser spending their money like click, 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 click. Although these days it's more like sip, 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 sip. They need to be doing their job as well. So it helps you keep them accountable. It's like Mr. Client or Mr. Boss or Mrs. I hate that I have to keep saying that. When I say Mr., I don't just mean it's like just men, by the way, if ladies are listening. Because I know 3% of my audience is female. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Do apologise. So, but it helps you keep your client accountable or your boss, your manager or whatever. It's like, well, you're not doing your bit. So therefore, the quality of the leads coming in will deteriorate or stay the same. So if you're complaining about them, we need to improve our reading on them. And we need to feed that back. And you can feed it back. You don't have to. You know, a lot of people say, oh, you've got to feed the data back into Google to improve the bidding. Again, you've got to have enough data. And if it's a small business and you've got, crikey, if you're barely getting 10, 20 sales a month from your entire Google Ads account, there's just not a significant amount of data to feed back to really. I have not seen this black and white where that level of data has had a positive, negative impact on the bidding. In most cases, the data is fed back in for sales. It makes no difference to the bidding. It can be better, it could be worse. That's why I think you need a lot of sales data. Lead data, it's fine. You know, if you've got 50, 100, whatever, brilliant. And if half of them are unqualified and you feed back that information, these are my qualified leads, I want to bid on these, I'm going to ignore the unqualifieds, they're crap. Yes, that will have a positive impact on bidding. Non-revenue attributed bidding seems to be a lot easier for the engine for service-based things. And what I mean by that is giving it a bunch of leads that look good. No revenue value because they're just leads, but these are qualified leads. So instead of it just being a form fill, I'm sending it back to you saying, this is a qualified lead. So I want you to target these conversions, but there's no value. So it's a TCPA. So it's a cost conversion situation, not a going after ROAS. I think advertisers get unstuck when they try and do ROAS bidding on service-based businesses because there's just not enough data there. Again, this is most, not bigger guys and girls who've got thousands of leads. Hello there, you sexy beast. Yes, I'm being nice because I want you to hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment if you've got time and you enjoyed the video. A like for a like. You know the drill. So I've written an email for match types. So I'm just going to read my own friggin' email. Christ, it's a long email. I know what I say. I don't need to read it. Okay. Match types are fucking simple. Most advertisers start with if you've got a brand new account, brand new campaign, either or, start with exacts. If you've got loads of budget, do what you want. Like it's coming down to that. If you've got 10, 20, 30 grand a month to spend and you're comfortable spending it, you can go broad, you can go find what the hell you want. If you're a local business, you've probably got $1,000, 2, 5, whatever. You want to start exacts because if you can't maximize your exact match keywords, you don't need to look elsewhere. And when I mean maximize, I mean get all the impressions you can, serve your ad as often as you can, get all the clicks, spend your budget. If your exact match is spending your budget, why are you even worried about other match types? The only reason you worry about going to potentially phrase or broad is that your exact isn't working. Then I would say, well, don't blame the match type, blame your keyword selection, or if you're looking at the search result and you see all your competitors there, blame your website or your ad copy or your offer on your website. Like match types are super simple, like really simple. And does phrase work? It can. Sometimes it can't. So test it. Like Google has a beautiful experimentation tool and it is a very good tool. You know, you can set up a 50-50 split. You can run an exact versus a phrase in an experiment and see What do the search terms look like? What's the performance look like? It's super simple, and it reduces the risk. Not enough people use experiments, I don't think.
You're not going to be able to do that without those fundamentals in place, which would be really understanding who you're selling to and what problems they have, how they think about them psychologically, how urgent is the solution, depending on which keywords you're targeting. There's just so much that transcends the ad account. Like before you open an account and start creating a campaign or modifying a campaign, you could do hours, if not days of work that would make that last mile of fiddling around in Google Ads or the ads editor a 5, 10, 15-minute thing, instead of trying to sit there like bashing your head. Oh, should I put this in double quotes or should I leave it out? It's the last thing you need to decide. Once you know everything else about your customer and what they want and what they hate about their current situation, it's just putting things in place.
Google Ads is way simpler than people make out.
It is.
And I say this all the time. I sell a massive framework that's got 400 odd bloody steps in it and 100 odd bloody files and videos and stuff. And Ashwin's part of it. And sometimes I feel like I'm to blame because it's like adding complexity. But it's only because I've tried to cover every eventuality. Whereas a lot of advertisers there's a hell of a lot of like small business, local service advertisers out there. And it's a handful of keywords. It's all you need. Some accounts can literally make bank on a keyword and everything else is kind of wasteful. And a good landing page with the right offer to the right person. I need an emergency plumber. Okay, how much is it? How quick can you come out to me? How do I get in touch with you? Bang, bang, bang. Simple. Like simple, simple, simple. And even like e-commerce, PMax does a good job. Smart shopping used to be great, automated so much. But standard shopping is still very, very effective and it doesn't need a lot of manual work. And the product and the price does 90% of the lifting with the product feed. The Google Ads account is literally there to take your money and make sure your ads are serving. And a lot of e-commerce marketers are going to be like gritting their teeth now, like, it's more complicated than that. Yeah, I know. It's Pareto. You're going to get 80% of the job done by having a good feed and making sure that your product's competitive on price. Start, add budget, go.
I don't think you should sell God tier short because it's the same principle. You start using it, particularly at the beginning of your journey, you focus on that 20% of God tier, which is about the fundamentals, the basics, and not screwing stuff up. And then as you get good results and you become more experienced with the platform, then that other 80% becomes really good. And now you can get that last incremental mile of results. It's
spoon whittling, isn't it? You get a chunk of wood out of the forest, you got a blunt knife, and you have a go, and you form sort of a spoon, and you stick it in your bowl of porridge, and you're like, oh, it works as a spoon. But after a week, you're kind of like, the spoon's a bit rough, doesn't feel nice in the hand, so you come back and you're like, oh, my knife's a bit blunt. You're like, I need a better knife, God tier has. And then, that sort of allows you to refine your spoon. So the next time you have some porridge, you're like, oh, this is a nice sensation. Is this metaphor working? I don't know. But it's compounding. So getting you to 80% is pretty quick. Most people can get to 90%, and then there's always little refinements, tweaks. But you get to the point where you're at like 95%, and to get these 1% increments is such a massive investment with downside risk, because not everything works, that a lot of people shouldn't be doing them, to be honest. You'd be better off focusing elsewhere.
If you do Google Ads in any shape or form, this is why God tier ads is so helpful. If you're an agency marketer, it's going to help you streamline your account management so that you have time and energy and space to focus on these other things. And if you're in-house, you're probably good at all this other stuff already, but you may not be a Google Ads specialist. It will help you navigate the account much more easily. And if you're a business owner, you'll be able to enable that for your in-house team. If you're an agency owner, you'll be able to set SOPs that scale across all your clients, possibly even increase your business head count and ad spend under management.
Yeah, and if you're a business owner who advertises through an agency or freelancer or even hires in-house, then your job is not, you should, if you're watching this, your job should be or you should be thinking, how do I improve the quality of the data we get back to our marketing team or person? Not, I'm going to log into the ads account and see how much we've spent today. Your thinking should be removed from that, because that's counterproductive. It shouldn't be, we only got one phone call today. It's like, yeah, I understand that's bad, but why? You need to get the better data into the system so you know what a good phone call is for a start, so you can get more of those, as opposed to we just need more phone calls. It's like, no, you want better phone calls, stating the obvious, and this process helps that. Now, fortunately, this is documented in God tier ads, not a sales pitch. People have documented this all over the bloody internet. I have got someone coming on to do a video who's way better than me at Tag Manager and all the fancy bits, to put together a very concise way of setting this up, because I know people want video sometimes and not documentation for these bits where you can literally follow it instead of an SOP. But anyway, it's all there. The information's all there. So yeah, that's critical. It's a little bit more complicated for e-commerce, but anyone that uses Shopify will understand this situation, that the revenue attributed to Google Ads in Shopify's back end is not the revenue that Google Ads thinks it should be attributed to. They do not agree. It's a pain in the arse. And so who do you trust? Well, this is probably where you step in the middle and use a third party, which I know is more money, but there are ways to do it server side. It's a little bit more difficult with Shopify. There are some sort of hacky ways, but there are plenty of tools that are not stupidly expensive. And for e-commerce, it can be as simple as like literally campaign level tracking. So if you got 10 campaigns, if you just know what budget goes into one and what revenue is attributed with your own first party tracking to that campaign, you can just balance budgets. And it sounds so simple, but just ignoring what Google says about your conversion data and shifting it to what you know about it because of first party data, and nothing's filtered out, can have quite dramatic shifts over a year. Just you nibbling budget to different campaigns and moving it away from a campaign that Google's telling you is really good, but it's infected with brand search or something like that, and you're not aware of it because it's sort of hidden away in PMax or something like that. It's been the name of the game for quite a few years. Is controlling or getting as much first party data as you possibly can, and acting on that instead of relying on the platforms. Because I can see in not a far off future where potentially the conversion metrics are entirely simulated, or for a good part of them are simulated in the account, and then it's like, well, we already live in a simulation. Do we want our data simulated as well?
Yeah. So don't hide behind the Google Ads dashboard. Don't hide behind your search terms report. Not a lot to hide behind there. Get out of the account. Don't just let.
There are diminishing returns though. I got to caveat this because there'll be someone sat there going, "Well, I spend $500 a month. What? Forget about it." Like, if you got a tiny account, don't add complexity and software and stuff that puts 50% on your costs. You're spending a small amount of money because either you're just a very small business, you don't need a lot of leads, or it's not working for you, or whatever. So for most people, that applies.
Don't go chasing data you don't really need. If it's not going to make an impact, don't muddy the system with another layer of stuff to filter out and trying to find correlation, causation with something that has absolutely no impact on whether people buy from you.
Yeah, we are all guilty of wanting data that we don't bloody use anyway.
Don't touch, just neglect it.
Yeah, yeah.